All right, here's a peek at condensed, seamless voiceover script. 1,200, 1,350 words, written like a real American, and is reliving their own wild HOA story, with a natural cinematic flow and emotional ups and downs. This version keeps the story vivid, tight, and addictive. No stiff speech, just a flowing conversational ride from start to finish. If you ever want to see how fast a peaceful life can go sideways, just try telling a homeowners association president none. Trust me, I learned that lesson standing in the mud where my pond used to be, shovel in hand with Gloria from the HOA screaming across my yard, her face about as red as the caution tape she'd strung up like I was running a crime scene. You can't drain it. Harper, that pond belongs to the community. She actually said that, like she was about to call the National Guard on me. Behind her were two guys in suits that screamed late-night ambulance chaser, and one held out a set of legal papers like he thought I'd faint on the spot. I looked straight into my security camera and said, if they want to claim my pond, they better be ready to share the thorns, too. And that was the moment I decided I wasn't just defending my land. I was about to teach them a lesson they'd never forget. Let me back up a sec. After my wife passed, I bought this slice of land in Westbury, Georgia, because I needed some space, some quiet, and something to take care of besides my own broken heart. That spring-fed pond out back, that was my sanctuary. The deed was ironclad. No HOA, just me and the frogs, until the day the new HOA across the road started sniffing around for more turf. They ignored me for years, honestly, until Gloria with her permanent scowl. And I'm in charge here. Attitude got herself elected Queen Bee. First thing she did, came knocking on my door with her fake smile, telling me the community would love to use my pond for a walking group. What walking group, I asked. Oh, we're starting one, she said, like it was already decided. I shut that down politely at first. But you know how it is. Some people only hear what they want. That's when the letters started claims about denying access to a natural resource, maps that made my pond magically appear inside their green space threats about community bylaws that never applied to me. I called my lawyer Martha, who's been around the block a few times, and she just laughed. They're bluffing Eli, but folks like this don't let go easy. She was right. I went to their next board meeting, 30 minutes of Gloria reading off parking violations like she was preaching from a pulpit, then calmly handed over my survey papers and tried to clear things up. Didn't matter. She just shook her head and said, "We'll see what the court says." 1 week later, I get a cease and desist letter accusing me of everything from blocking public access to destroying wildlife. Total nonsense. But now it was war, so I got creative. Instead of fighting in court, I started draining the pond myself. Quietly, legally, one pipe at a time, paperwork filed with the county, and everything. Once the water was low enough, I planted the nastiest, most uninviting thorn bushes you've ever seen. Fire thorn, honey locust devil's walking stick. I'd spent my whole career teaching about plants, and now I was using that knowledge for self-defense. Gloria caught wind and showed up with a news crew shouting about how I was destroying public water and harming frogs. I waved my permits and said, "The only thing endangered here is common sense." That got me on TV, and suddenly, the neighbors knew me as the Thorn guy. I even got a box of thorn-proof gloves in the mail. And just when I thought it couldn't get any crazier, her contractor showed up with a bench, claiming the HOA had approved a rest area right at the edge of my former pond on my land. They even took down part of my fence. That was it for me. I called the sheriff, showed him the trail cam footage, and watched as they packed up grumbling. Gloria, standing there with her arms crossed, hissed, "You'll regret this." I just grinned maybe. But you might too. The Thorn Garden, as people started calling it, became my private joke and the talk of the block. Some folks thought I'd lost it. Others started dropping by to ask about native plants and security. One afternoon, a little twist my neighbor Sam, who'd always kept to himself, knocked on my door with a six-pack and said, "Honestly, I'm with you. I moved here to be left alone too. You need help with that fence, I'm your guy." That's when I realized not everyone in the HOA was on Gloria's side. Some just didn't want the drama, but were tired of her power trips. Still, Gloria wasn't finished. She reported me for mailbox violations, claimed my landscaping was hostile. So I doubled down, rebuilt my mailbox as a mini castle, wrapped in decorative thorns, and added a little motion sensor that said, "Welcome to my lawful mailbox. Please enjoy your walk." When the county inspector showed up, I handed over a stack of paperwork. He chuckled and said, "Heard about your garden. Between you and me, my wife's rooting for you." The whole thing started to spiral for Gloria. At the next HOA meeting, this one streamed live, she lost it yelling about betrayal and the Thorn man costing them money. Her own board members started turning against her, realizing she was just dragging them down for her own pride. Then the icing on the cake, my trail cam caught Gloria trespassing late at night, probably hoping to find some violation. But instead, she slipped on a muddy patch and landed right in the thorns. Her pride got more bruised than anything, but I filed the footage with the sheriff anyway. Didn't press charges, though. I figured the embarrassment was enough. By now, my garden had turned into a fortress. Layers of berry bushes, barberry shrubs, and wild roses. All legal, all native, and all chosen to keep uninvited guests at bay. A local biologist even visited, called it a brilliant example of using nature as a boundary. Kids started coming for field trips, and the old pond became a landmark for all the wrong and right reasons. Gloria tried one last time to regain control. Organized a protest with a few die-hard HOA loyalists standing out by the road with signs like "Nature belongs to all" and "Return the pond." I just leaned on my fence, watched, then walked over with a tray of lemonade. One of the protesters took a cup, shrugged, and whispered, "Honestly, it's good lemonade." When the local news came to cover it, I showed them my permits and the original deed. The segment ended with Gloria shouting about restoration and me just saying I planted native plants on my private land. But sure, restore away. After that circus, the board finally had enough. They called a vote, ousted Gloria, and brought in Tom, a retired Marine, who knew how to mind his own business. He came over, shook my hand, apologized for the hassle, and even signed off on a permanent sign that read, "Keep out experimental botanical zone. HOA access prohibited." With Gloria gone, her house sat on the market for months, price dropping every week until finally, some college kid with a dog moved in and turned the whole place into a hammock haven. Couldn't have asked for a better neighbor. Now every morning I walk past the old pond, now a fortress of thorns and wild color, and I can't help but smile. The frogs are gone, but in their place I've got hummingbirds, butterflies, and the satisfaction of knowing I stood my ground. Sometimes I see folks slow down to look, maybe even snap a picture, and I wonder what they think happened here. Some might say I went too far. Maybe I did. But sometimes you've got to let people feel the consequences of their own stubbornness. So what do you think? Was I out of line for turning my pond into a fortress? Or did Gloria and her HOA get exactly what they deserved? Drop your thoughts below. I want to hear your stories about HOA drama, neighbor feuds, or just standing your ground when it counts. Let's talk about where the line is between community and control, because some folks really do need a garden of regret to remind them.